Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're trying something a bit different. We're going to listen in, metaphorically speaking, on our planet's oceans.
Peeling back the layers on that vast underwater world.
Exactly. We've got this fascinating consultation record from an AI cooperative, and it details how researchers are using, well, cutting-edge AI to listen to water.
To actually hear environmental changes, ecosystem differences,
Yeah.
things we couldn't detect before.
Right. So our mission today is to unpack that. How is AI learning to interpret these underwater sounds? You'll hear some surprising facts, I think, and some really clever innovations.
And it really matters because understanding these acoustic environments, it could unlock really crucial insights into the health of aquatic ecosystems everywhere. Vital information, really.
Okay, so let's start with the core idea. This research team, they had this pretty bold concept.
Yeah.
Could they use just the sounds underwater to monitor environmental shifts?
It sounds almost simple when you say it like that, doesn't it?
It really does. But the complexity. Wow. So they started by, just recording, dropping hydrophones in all sorts of places, vibrant coral reefs, murky estuaries.
Even the really deep, dark parts of the ocean.
And what they found pretty quickly was, well, the sounds were completely different depending on the location, and crucially, depending on the life there.
Which is huge. That initial discovery, that simple variation in sound patterns, it points directly to differences in biodiversity, in the environmental conditions.
So sound becomes like a diagnostic tool.
Exactly. A non-invasive one. You don't need to go count fish one by one. You can sort of listen to the health of the place.
That's incredible. Okay, so from that finding, their goal got even bigger, right? They wanted to build a single AI tool that could work across all of these different ecosystems.
Yeah, cross-ecosystem tool. The idea was it could quickly pick out both biological sounds, fish calls, whale songs, shrimp snaps.
And non-biological things, too, like currents or maybe human noise.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Ship noise, sonar, underwater construction, whatever. And to do this, they looked at deep learning, specifically CNN-based, fully convolutional networks.
CNNs, those are the ones usually used for image recognition, right? Like identifying cats in photos.
That's the classic example, yeah. They're great at finding spatial patterns. Here, they're applying that same ability to find patterns, but in the shape of sound waves over time, looking for features in the spectrograms, essentially.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Building an AI that can hear the ocean, how do you actually teach a machine to understand such a complex soundscape? It's not like giving it pictures of cats.
No, definitely not. So they explored two main paths for training these models.
Right.
The first is probably what most people think of, supervised training.
Where you tell it exactly what it's hearing.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You feed the examples that humans have already labeled. The source mentioned, specifically marking recordings of humpback whale songs. So the AI learns, okay, this pattern equals humpback whale.
Makes sense. But I imagine that's a ton of work. Labeling potentially thousands of hours of ocean noise.
Oh, absolutely. That's the big drawback. You need vast amounts of accurately labeled data. And for the sheer diversity of ocean sounds, it's a huge bottleneck. Very time-consuming, very expensive.
Okay, so what was the other approach?
This is where it gets quite innovative. It's called self-supervised training.
Self-supervised. So it teaches itself.
In a way, yes. They use something called an autoencoder. You don't need to feed it explicit labels like whale song or boat engine. Instead, the AI learns the underlying structure, the sort of inherent characteristics of the underwater sounds it's given.
How does that help detect changes or anomalies then?
Well, the autoencoder learns what normal sounds like in a given place, or over a certain time period, say a full 24-hour cycle. It compresses the sound data, then tries to reconstruct it. If something unusual happens, an anomaly, the reconstruction won't be as accurate. Or the compressed version, the embedding, will look different from the usual pattern, so it flags deviations from the learned norm without needing a label for every possible sound.
That's clever. It's like it learns the baseline rhythm of an ecosystem and notices when that rhythm changes.
Exactly. It's particularly good for spotting unexpected events or gradual shifts in the environment, things you might not have thought to label specifically.
But surely it wasn't all smooth sailing, trying to make this work in the actual ocean. I mean, it must get messy. What kind of problems did they run into?
Oh, definitely. This is where the real-world complexity hits hard. The consultation record laid out 4 major challenges.
Okay, what were they?
First up, signal interference. Sound travels really far underwater, which sounds good, but
There's a catch.
there's a big catch. There's also severe interference. Lots of overlapping sounds, echoes, distortion. It makes the recordings often quite unclear. Trying to isolate one specific sound source can be, well, incredibly difficult, like listening for a whisper in a hurricane.
Okay, so noisy data. What else?
Second, and this relates back to the training methods, was insufficient labeled data. Even with the self-supervised approach, you often still need some labeled examples to really fine-tune the AI, especially for telling apart really similar, subtle sounds, and they just didn't have enough for everything they wanted to identify.
Right, the sheer variety of underwater life and sounds.
Exactly. Third, there were limitations with the models themselves. The AI needed to get better at reconstructing the signals accurately and learning what they call fine-grained features, those tiny details in the sound that might distinguish one type of shrimp click from another or healthy coral sounds from stressed ones.
So the AI wasn't quite sensitive enough yet.
Not for everything, no. And the fourth challenge, just the sheer scale of it all. Data volume and relatedly GPU constraints.
GPUs, the computer chips that do the heavy AI processing.
Yep. They were dealing with continuous recordings from multiple locations. We're talking about enormous amounts of data. Processing that, especially trying to find long-term patterns like seasonal changes, pushes even powerful GPUs to their limits. The memory required can be huge.
Wow. So you've got noisy data, not enough labels, models that need refining, and just too much information for the computers to easily handle. That sounds like a perfect storm of problems.
It really highlights the difficulty of this kind of environmental AI work.
So, faced with all that, the noise, the data gaps, the computational limits, what did the experts actually recommend? How could they make this AI listen smarter?
Right, this is the core of the consultation. The advice was pretty comprehensive, tackling each of those problems.
Let's hear it.
For model improvements, they suggested trying different types of deep learning models. One specific suggestion was Microsoft's Beats model. Yeah, it's based on the transformer architecture, the same kind that powers things like ChatGPT. Transformers are really good at understanding context and long sequences, which is potentially perfect for analyzing these long, complex underwater recordings.
Interesting. So, moving beyond the standard CNNs.
Or combining them. Maybe CNN to find local patterns in a transformer to understand the bigger picture. They also floated focusing more on self-supervised learning to get richer data representations without relying so much on labels.
And making the AI better at telling sound apart.
Yes, they suggested adding specific constraints to the model's internal workings, the embeddings we mentioned. Things like forcing these representations to follow a certain mathematical pattern, like a Gaussian distribution. This can help make the fingerprints for different sounds more distinct, which is crucial for anomaly detection.
Okay, so better models. What about the massive data problem and the GPUs?
For that, they had some practical advice. If GPU memory is the bottleneck, use techniques like PyTorch's distributed data parallel, or DDP. It basically lets you split the processing work across multiple GPUs. So instead of one GPU struggling with a huge chunk of data, you have several working together in parallel on smaller pieces. Much more efficient.
Makes sense. Teamwork for the computers.
Exactly. And then a really interesting suggestion, federated learning.
Federated learning. How does that work?
Instead of bringing all the raw data to one central place to train a single giant model, you train smaller models locally, right, where the data is collected at different research sites maybe.
Okay.
Then you combine the learnings from these local models, not the raw data itself. This helps with privacy, data volume, and importantly, it helps the model learn continuously from new environments without forgetting what it learned from old ones. They called it incremental or lifelong learning.
Wow, so the AI keeps learning across space and time without needing all the data in one spot? That sounds powerful.
It's a very promising approach for large-scale ongoing monitoring. And related to data handling, they recommended stratified sampling.
Stratified sampling, not just random picking.
Right. Instead of randomly grabbing chunks of data, you proportionally select data from different times, locations, or environments based on how much data comes from each. This ensures the model gets a balanced view and doesn't become biased towards, say, the place you recorded the most data.
That makes a lot of sense, ensuring fairness in the data diet.
Precisely. And on the resource side, a very practical tip. Apply for time on government-funded big data platforms or supercomputing clusters, often more cost-effective than trying to build that capacity yourself.
Good practical advice. Any other refinements?
Yeah, a couple more. For analyzing those 24-hour cycles, they suggested looking at other timescales too, maybe 4-hour or 8-hour patterns within the day, or using categorical predictions like classifying sections of the day as dawn chorus or midday quiet.
Getting more nuance out of the daily rhythms.
Exactly. And finally, a big one for the science. Quantitatively evaluate how well the model is actually representing the sounds. Don't just say it works. Use statistical methods like cluster analysis or formal anomaly detection scores to prove how well it distinguishes environments or detects changes. That makes the findings much stronger.
That's a really comprehensive set of recommendations. It really shows you need this multifaceted approach, better algorithms, smarter data handling, more computing power, and rigorous evaluation.
Absolutely. It's not just about having a cool algorithm. It's about building the entire system around it to make it work effectively in the real world.
So when you step back, what we've really explored here is this incredible effort to use advanced AI to, well, eavesdrop on the planet in a way we never could before. It's like getting a shortcut to understanding these hidden environmental shifts.
Yeah, and it's crucial to remember this isn't just, fascinating tech for its own sake. It's about developing tangible tools. Tools that can help us genuinely understand our aquatic ecosystems better, monitor their health, and ultimately figure out how to protect them more effectively.
It really underlines how combining fields, AI, marine biology, acoustics, can tackle these huge, complex problems.
Definitely, the interdisciplinary angle is key.
It leaves you wondering, though, if AI can learn to decipher the subtle acoustic signals from the deep ocean, what other hidden messages is our planet sending out? What other signals are just waiting for us to build the right ears to listen? And what might they tell us about where we're heading?